All right, we are back here on the Just End the Suffering podcast. You ready for the final golf major of the year, the Open Championship? I believe the first time we're covering on the podcast, I want to say 2019. Joining me today to break it all down, our PGA Tour correspondent, Dan DeMartini is here. Dan, how are you?
I'm doing great, Mike. Glad to be back. We hit all four majors this year, so that's great. And it's going to be an exciting FedEx Cup playoff. So this will be, this is the best time of the season to be watching golf, and everybody's playing really, really well right now. So it's an exciting time.
It absolutely is. I mean, last year, like the timing didn't work out schedule wise with all this stuff, but we are here on the press of the 150th anniversary of the Open Championship. Do you know offhand if they are planning a special to commemorate this anniversary?
I don't know if they're planning anything special, but there are a few interesting things that we've kind of heard are happening. For those of you that are listening that don't really know about how many spectators an average golf event is, it depends on the venue and the area that the tournament's in, but you would say it's over the course of 4 days, somewhere between maybe 80,000 and 120,000 or so would be a really good tournament. And I think the article that I read actually about this that popped up today said that they received 1.3 million applications for tickets.
Whoa.
They're expecting almost 300,000 spectators, which would be 3 times the size of one of the larger tournaments you've probably ever gone to if you've gone to a PGA Tour tournament. And, everybody historically looks at the US Open spectator and galleries and says, oh, those are the biggest in golf. This one is going to even surpass that. So they're expecting the biggest crowds you've probably ever seen at a golf event. The old course at St. Andrews it's the oldest venue in golf. I think it's like 600 years old, and old Tom Morris, and the story, you can look up the history of golf or go to the World Golf Museum. And it's a special place. It's probably one of 2 of the most spectacular places. If you're thinking golf, you probably think the old course St. Andrews and you think Augusta National. So within Europe, there's nothing more famous. And it's a special place for a lot of players. And it's also a special place for just the golf enthusiast. Everybody's dream is to be able to go over and play. So if there was one thing that I do know that's spectacular, I guess you could say it is that Tiger Woods is playing. Obviously we haven't seen Tiger play competitively. He did play at the JP McManus Pro-Am, which is a very famous charitable Pro-Am played in Ireland. For those that don't know about that, it's a 2-day Pro-Am and all the biggest stars in golf play in it. It's also very, very special. It's probably the most special Pro-Am that's out there. And, remember, we saw Tiger play the Masters. He finished, I think, somewhere in the 40s, withdrew from the PGA, didn't play US Open. So he hasn't played any other events. And so we have no idea what to expect, but, Tiger's in the field, and that's going to draw even more people out. So it's going to be a fantastic event next week, and it's going to be really special. And even if you are a marginal golf fan, it's a tournament that will make you feel all the feels. You know what I mean? You have to watch them walk up the fairway. You have to watch the craziness of the galleries and the people that are so appreciative of the quality of play that will happen next week. And there's so much tradition and honor and respect. I'm fingers crossed it's great weather. And but yeah, these players have a huge task on their hands with how difficult the old course is. So
Yeah,
we can get into a little bit of that too.
Yeah, let's talk a little bit more about the old course. Obviously, it's the most famous golf course in the world. They've held the Open Championship 29 times, fitting it against the 150th anniversary here. So for those of us like me who have not been like golf historians, what do I need to know about this course?
Well, you need to know undulation is the word. It is one of those crazy, if you close your eyes and you think about just rolling fairways, massive bunkers, huge open greens. I was talking to my dad earlier, and who's played the course several times, and he was just like, you got to remember there's double greens out there as well. So basically what you're looking at is you need to be so dialed in on that pin. You could be on a green, but you could be 50, 60 yards away. So you're going to see some crazy putts, some potentially some cold and windy conditions, maybe even some rain. I'm not sure what the forecast will be, but that is pretty normal for out there. And I do think that you're going to see some spectacularly deep bunkers, like really, really hard to get out of. And then obviously the most famous hole, I think potentially other than at TPC Sawgrass, the 17th hole at the old course, it's called the road hole. And for those of you that don't know, maybe you played the old Tiger Woods, EA Sports game from back in the day. Very famous to get to play that hole. And that's the one where the old course hotel is on the right side of the tee box. So basically, depending on if you're a righty or a lefty, you've got about half of your view on your tee shot is obstructing by the side. There's literally a hotel right there. So if you're nervous on that tee box, you could easily doink it off the side of the hotel. Then you've got the road, literally it's called the road hole, literally a road that goes all the way up through the right side of the hole itself. It's like almost 500-yard par 4. You've got, everybody used to try, I think it was like renovated maybe about 10 or 15 years ago, maybe even longer now. It was renovated in a way where guys used to try to take the hotel and some of the difficulty of the green out of it by aiming way left. Well, now if you hit it left and you try to approach the pin, they put in the road hole bunker, which is just a mammoth of a bunker. And it basically blocks all the approaches that come in from the left side. So if you hit a little too much club and it rolls out, you're going to get stuck in that bunker. So even if you're not a fan who's playing the hole, if you see somebody on 17, stop what you're doing and take a look, because and once again, if you truly want to see perfection in golf architecture and agronomy, watch the tournament next week, and it will literally just ignite all of your passion for why you even gotten interested in golf in the first place.
Good to know. And obviously, you always take a look at the defending champ here. Last year, the Open champion, Collin Morikawa. We know he's got a interesting road here. What do you think he can do on this course?
I think Collin is playing absolutely fantastic. And I think that this is another opportunity for him to showcase himself as one of the best players in the world. And, I think he's played 14 events this year. I think he's got 7 or 8 top 10s, including a couple second place finishes. He doesn't have a win on the season in the 21-22 season, but he's clearly shown that in only, 14 or 15 starts that anytime he's in it, he's either going to finish in a very high position, and he's right in the mix. So I think his playing form right now and what this course requires you to do, which is to put your tee shot in a very, very strategic position. There's nobody better with long irons or mid irons than he is. And I think that if he can put the ball on greens in reasonable places to make putts, which is the hardest thing to do there, it's one of those things. Most people are happy when they're, just get it on the green. You can 2-putt and be fine. No, not at St. Andrews. If you put the ball on the green, you could still potentially have to hit a wedge shot, even to get it close to a hole. So it's just you have to watch it to understand how different. This is not your normal difficult country club down the street in New York. This is like a whole different game that'll be played out there in a whole different landscape. So Collin has the game to absolutely to win the whole thing and to repeat for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's go back to Tiger Woods here, because he's won here twice in the past, and we know that he came back for the Masters. He withdrew from the PGA after a bad performance, and then he strategically skipped the U.S. Open with the eyes pointed towards this tournament here. And look, we all know that Tiger, being on the leaderboard, at the top leaderboard on Sunday, is unrealistic at this point. So, what do you think is the best case scenario for Tiger here?
I mean, best case scenario, he manages the first 2 days. Um, I don't mean to try to help him or anything, but I would say if there was some sort of inclement weather that kept all of the scores down, in a way that everybody was right hovering around even, and he could get out of there without having to go low on Thursday and Friday, that would give him a really good chance to stay in the mix and build some confidence. You would have to say with Tiger's track record that this course is probably the place he's most comfortable playing in Europe or outside the US. Um, just purely from a historical standpoint and a career standpoint, this is the place where if he has a chance to win, this is clearly why he was waiting and getting himself in shape. I watched him play a couple holes during the Pro-Am, the McManus Pro-Am, and his swing looks fantastic. I mean, he didn't necessarily play great, but he was ripping the ball. And look, you're not going to get into a ton of trouble off the tee because it's so wide open out there. Now, yes, there's huge fescue, there's bunkers all over the place, there's trouble. But if he can put it anywhere remotely near the fairway, he knows where he has to put the ball. He knows this course so well. So this isn't like he's walking into a random venue. I would love to see Tiger be in the mix. I just don't think there's any way, with how many other young stars coming from the PGA Tour to play the Open, that there's any way he's able with his current situation to keep up. I just think there's too many guys that are hungry to make a name for themselves.
Yeah, absolutely. And I always like to take a look here at the most recent champions here. And I mean, I don't know if Zach Johnson is going to play this tournament. I know that he's eligible 1 in 15. Louis Oosthuizen is in the field, and he won, I think, back in 2011, and he went to the playoff with Zach Johnson years ago. I feel like those are the kind of guys that you want to circle on your card here and say, I want to keep an eye on them. How do you feel about those guys?
You know, once again, I don't necessarily think that an older player is going to win this one. I just think that and not to say that either player is past their prime, but I kind of look at the season, and Zach is an amazing person, an amazing player, and has an incredible career. This year hasn't necessarily been a great year in terms of his playing schedule. I think he's played a bunch of tournaments, but just hasn't had too much success making cuts. Distance off the tee is just harder as you get older to keep up that distance and accuracy. And I just think that Zach's going to make a heck of a U.S. team captain for some of our, international competitions, but I don't know if he's got enough in him to win this. I do think a name from the past who's had some serious success, who might not be one of these young guns, a name to keep an eye out on is Mark Leishman. And that's a name that if you are looking for a deep cut, a guy who is, kind of flown under the radar, if he's in the field and playing and he's healthy, he seems to always have his name on that top 10. I can close my eyes and for like the last 4 or 5 Open championships, I just feel like Leishman's name is always there early. Maybe it fades late. I know he had a great run there as well, competing. I think he has a second place finish. But Leishman is a guy that is a little bit more towards the Zach Johnsons of the world, and but I firmly believe that it's going to be a younger player that wins this one.
Yeah, I was looking up some odds on DraftKings while you're talking here. Mark Leishman right now is 65-1 to win the tournament, so that's a deep pull there. And Louis Oosthuizen, who I like, is 40-1. Those are a couple of names I'm throwing out there.
Yeah, absolutely. And I can, there's a few other names if you want to go down this path of guys I like.
Yeah.
These, I wouldn't call these, I'll share my sleeper here. Mark is obviously my deep sleeper. I mean, anybody that's going out at over 60 is 60-1 is a deep sleeper. But the guys that I really like this year, obviously Collin, I think he's at 18-1, Matt Fitzpatrick at 20-1. And I love Xander Schauffele going out at 22-1. Xander, obviously has had a great year so far this year, and I just think that this is another chance for him to establish himself amongst his peers as a top 10 player in the world.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at the board right now. They had the betting favorite entering the tournament is Rory McIlroy 8-1. And you got John Rahm 11-1, Scotty Scheffler 12-1, Justin Thomas 14-1. So a lot of the usual names are up there, and the Morikawa Fitzpatrick right behind them. So I feel like it's gonna be. I feel like it's a big. I think it's kind of wide open.
Absolutely. And to give you just, my sleeper pick, I don't know if you're seeing the same thing that I was, but I couldn't believe it seeing my guy, Sam Burns, at going out at 40-1. I was completely shocked by that. You know how I'm a huge fan of everything that he does. He's had an incredible year. I think he's got 3 wins this year. I believe he won Sanderson Farms, Valspar, and I think he won Charles Schwab Challenge too. So he's got 3 wins. He's second in the FedEx Cup, and he's going out at 40-1. Now, I know this is a very different venue and whatnot, but the guy is playing incredible golf. And you want to talk about a sleeper pick. Whew, man, he's a name to circle for sure.
Yeah, I'm looking at the DraftKings board as of recording on July 6th here. He is now up to 35-1 with Tyrell Hatton. They're both in that range. Then right behind them at 40-1 is the trio of Tiger Woods, Tommy Fleetwood, and Louis Oosthuizen.
Yeah, I would lean more on the Hatton and the Burns side of those 5 names that you listed there.
Yeah. Also, I gotta get your winner pick. You have a little bit of a hot streak here, giving us some picks here. I mean, you said Justin Thomas at the PGA. He did take care of business there. Matt Fitzpatrick's on your short list at the U.S. Open. He did take care of business there. I did bet both of those guys and make a little bit of money there. So the pressure's on here. Who are you?
Hey, unsolicited advice. I had nothing to do with that. I just personally, those who are the guys who I felt just
shots.
Feeling the situation out. I thought that those are the guys that had the best. I'm not going to take credit for it. They had to go out and win it, but those are the guys that I just thought that their games were meant for it. There's two guys I'm really torn on. I think that Cam Smith is I think I don't know where he is on the board, on the odds board, but I think he, ever since winning the Players Championship, I think that he's now kind of quietly gone into the background. Cam Smith is one of those guys. Every time you try to forget about him, he pops back out of nowhere and is like, 3 shots into the lead. It's been a little while since, you've seen his name back at the top of the leaderboard, but for a while there, he was dominating. So Scotty Scheffler's run and Sam Burns's run has kind of happened right behind him. So don't forget about Cam Smith, but I have to pick Xander. He's my pick for the week. I've already said exactly why. I think that he won at Travelers, he won the team competition at Zurich. He's had several other top 10s this year. I just think that from a purely trying to separate himself, and he's got nothing to lose. He's got everything to still prove. Here's an opportunity for him to go out and win on European soil. And absolutely, this is the course. It will be a true test of your mental fortitude to be able to combat not only the conditions, but the crowds, and really a course that can be very, very nasty. I mentioned earlier, my dad was talking to me, and he goes, one of the strangest things about St. Andrews is that you don't know where the greens end and the tee boxes start. And it just goes to show you from a visual standpoint, most golf courses, okay, you see the green, you see the, kind of the first and second cut, and then you clearly know where the hole ends and then where the path is going to take you to get to the next hole. Well, that's not how it is out there. It is an open landscape. It is a true links, and you can easily get distracted or take a bad sight line, and you could be hitting from angles that you're just not expecting to hit from. So you have to be absolutely dialed in and focused. And he's a guy who, when he starts off and puts himself in contention, once again, it's all about how you start off on Thursday, Friday. If he's hovering on Saturday, I'm going to text you and I'm going to be like, I'm feeling pretty good about this one again. So Xander Schauffele's my pick.
Yeah, Xander and Cam Smith both going off at 22 to 1. One other guy I want to mention before we go here, and he's had some very close finishes here at these last couple of majors. Will Zalatoris, he choked down the stretch at the U.S. Open. He finished second at the PGA. He was second at the Masters last year. I feel like he's knocking on that door where he's got to get one soon. Otherwise, he sort of enters that Greg Norman territory. He's getting close to no cigar.
Well, and that's the thing too, is I don't think Will needs to, he's got a long career ahead of him playing in majors, and he's so young and so energetic and has all the pieces of a game that you would want. And I'm looking at the guys who are going to look at this as the 150th anniversary and playing of the event and wanting the claret jug, and there's just, this is the one that I truly believe that it's going to be one of these, slightly more established. Nothing against Will and his game. I think he can do it. I think he'll be in contention. I think Will will be a top 10 finish. I just think that Xander's got a little bit more experience. So if he's in the mix, if it's down the stretch, the two of them, I'll feel good that I chose Xander on that front. Will Zalatoris is a guy you absolutely have to root for. And I really hope he gets over the hump, and I hope I'm wrong.
All right, we'll see about it. Dan, thanks for all the time. Really appreciate it. Before I let you go, I'll give you a follow on social media. Keep on some of the stuff you're up to.
Sure. You can find me at DMart207, and I will be hopefully back on and give you guys a little bit of a update before kind of end of the FedEx Cup playoffs, and a little bit leading into President's Cup.